My name is David.
And my name is Jason.
And this is Discern Realities, a Dungeon World podcast. Our first segment is What Happened Here Recently. Jason, I understand that you wanted to tell us a bit about your recent Adventures on Dungeon Planet campaign.
Yeah, I do. So every year for the past 3 years, I have run between 4 and 6 sessions of a Dungeon Planet game set in the Carcosa setting. Carcosa is it's an older OSR setting, and it was picked up by Lamentations of the Flame Princess at a certain point and kind of made into like a newer, shinier version of this older setting. It is a setting that is all about like weird, gross horror, kind of a mishmash of science fiction elements with like with Cthulhu mythos elements and also like fantasy elements. And as written, it's pretty out there. It's got a lot of gross aspects to it, which make it something of a controversial setting. And I don't use a lot of that stuff, but I use other elements of it that I really like. In any case, people can go look up Carcosa. It's a thing. It's easy enough to look up. Just, type in Carcosa and OSR. You'll get all the details you need. The way I run it, though, I love my Carcosa sessions, and people do tend to like them. They're probably the most popular thing I run because I kind of play in this really, really like campy space. Like it's very science fantasy, B-grade sci-fi cheese, mixed with body horror, like kind of a David Cronenberg-esque body horror, with a little bit of like heavy metal, TNA, Heavy Metal, the old like magazine and cartoon. I read this article once that kind of clarified like why I love it so much, because this person made this comparison, Carcosa, to this other thing, which made a lot of sense, which was it's like Masters of the Universe, He-Man, but if He-Man had not been just like a toy merchandising exploit, like if like He-Man had been just this like serious or quasi-serious, like, fantasy property, science fiction property, Carcosa would be it, right? So because it's this mashup of mighty thewed barbarians and robot dinosaurs, right? Like it's that kind of thing. I was pretty happy with these sessions because the characters were really great. The role-playing going on at the table was super fun. I really love these characters. And I do something different when I run Carcosa that I don't do in my other Dungeon World games, which is I do my Grim Portents. They're all off-screen Grim Portents. They're not things that the characters see, but the players get to see them because I do them almost like a movie or a TV show. Like we cut away and it's just like me on screen, like performing the Grim Portent for the group, And so it's always this like disgusting wizard named Gormakir the Cruel. And every time we cut away to him, we see him engaging different steps of this like really gross ritual. And it has no direct connection to what the players are doing. Like the characters are doing their own thing. It just occasionally cuts to this wizard doing this gross ass ritual, right? And the players over the course of multiple sessions, they enjoy watching me kind of camp it up as I play the scene out, but they don't really know like how it connects to anything, right? Like they don't know like why am I even doing this? Like there appears to be no apparent connection to that off-screen stuff. Like this thing that's happening in this part of the world that does not appear to have any connection to them. But what I love about it is by the time we get to the last session, I usually ask, all right, well, we've got a few like little story threads here, and you got some stuff going on over here, some stuff going on over here. What do you guys want to pursue? We've got one session left. And inevitably they always go, and they did this time too, I want to go find out what the deal is with that wizard. Like, what's that all about, right? Like, let's go hunt that fucking wizard. I consider that a success. And so then at that point, we kind of have a discussion about how to how we're going to connect their story up to his story. Right. And we had a really awesome encounter with the wizard and his grotesque horror that he was summoning. And it was super dangerous. But they were like diving headfirst into the danger, and I loved it. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I got to be in one of these sessions and loved it, and I have played in one of your previous Carcosa campaigns pretty much all the way through and loved that one as well. It's pretty much the grossest thing ever that can happen.
It has some grossness to it. Yeah. It's gross, but it's like gross in a way that you have to kind of laugh at it, because it's so over the top, right?
It's so perfect. It's like the cover of those old sci-fi books.
Yeah. So like just to give listeners a taste of like what I do with this wizard was summoning this grotesque like demigod from this pit called the Fetter of the Depths. They went to encounter him. Like they had we kind of tied their story into his story, right? They encountered him and they encountered this creature, the Fetter of the Depths, and we described it as this Fetter of the Depths it smelled so disgusting that a bunch of like captive NPCs who were in the area were vomiting so hard that they vomited up their own organs, or they vomited so hard that their like skulls popped out of their skin, like that kind of thing. So just kind of like doing that visually, like, and describing it and getting really squishy with the details. It is super fun. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's great. It's like Final Destination, Mortal Kombat, He-Man.
It's all that, great. Right? Yeah, it's all that stuff. Yeah. So.
Awesome.
Anyway, it was super fun. I just wanted to kind of share some of that.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. Our next segment is What Should I Be on the Lookout For?
Okay, so this week I wanted to talk very quickly about World of Dungeons. World of Dungeons is something that a lot of people, especially if they backed the Dungeon World Kickstarter, you'll know what World of Dungeons is. It was a Kickstarter stretch goal written by John Harper for Dungeon World. And the idea behind World of Dungeons is it's kind of a joke on the idea that if Dungeon World was Dungeons and Dragons, what would the 1979 version of Dungeon World look like, right? And so it's kind of this very, very deconstructed version of Dungeon World. And when I say deconstructed, it has a single move. It has just a single move called do something risky, and you choose an appropriate stat and roll it, and you get high result, low result, middle result, right? I think there's even like extra high result. So it's like from 12 plus to 6 minus, right? The character creation, the characters are super paper thin. They only have a few hit points. They suck because you roll like in very classic, like, classic old D&D style. You just roll straight down the line, and there's and you might end up with a really, really suboptimal character stat wise, right? They have no specific moves. They do have like certain class-based skills which help set them apart and stuff, but it's a really, really mechanically shallow game, right? But here's why I'm recommending it and why I love it. I love World of Dungeons for this one reason. Lately, I've been using it to kind of test out ideas for Dungeon World. So I recently ran a session of it where I had a brand new dungeon that was not a conversion. It was my own dungeon. And I was wanting to try out some different things, like some different thematic things and some different sort of storytelling ideas. And World of Dungeons was a great place to sort of almost like workshop it in that session, because you don't have a lot of like overhang, of like, oh, I've got a ranger, so I have to make sure there's chances for them to track something, or, oh, I've got a druid, so I have to make sure there's chances for, nature to be endangered or whatever, right? You don't have all that stuff that you have to respond to as the GM. And so you can kind of just, try out like some ideas and not feel like kind of restricted by what playbooks your players have chosen. This game went great, and I am going to take some of those ideas and kind of expand that for a more longer term Dungeon World thing. So it was cool.
Yeah, I've read it. I like your description that it is what would Dungeon World be in the 1970s, because that's totally what it read to me. It's really brilliant, right? I mean, John Harper, he's known for like this really, really like deconstructive sort of way of looking at game design. Like it's all about like, how do I get to like positive results and outcomes in the shortest way possible, right? Most of the time. Some of his later games haven't really been that way. It made me think of like, if Dungeon World was an app, this is Dungeon World Lite, the free version that you can play for a little bit.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually. Yeah. Well, and in fact, World of Dungeons even does a couple of really cool things that Dungeon World doesn't do. So, for example, the characters have skills, right?
Yeah.
but instead of it being like a skill-based game where you're like, where you're focused on like, your rating in a skill or whatever, all it does instead is if the thing you're doing, if you're taking a risky action, but you're using your skill, then you can't fail the roll. So like if you get a 6 minus,
degree of success.
It's an automatic 7 to 9, but just a harder 7 to 9. I kind of like that. I think that's kind of a really elegant way of accounting for your character's particular strengths in a game that's otherwise where the characters are pretty sketchy,
Yeah, it reminds me of like games where you can't fail at all, like intentionally all the way through across the board, which can definitely help workshopping some of these dungeon world ideas because you're not having to deal with the fact that the characters are constantly failing.
Oh, we should say it's available for free. I think you can go to John Harper's website and download it. So we'll put a link.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. Our next segment is What Here Is Not What It Appears to Be. Jason, I understand you had a question this week about it.
I was just wondering the other day, what are the playbooks that people consider to be their core playbooks, right? Because I think not everyone uses like just the standard Dungeon World playbooks, right? I think most people probably have like the standard ones plus a few others that they always make available no matter what the setting is, right? Like they always make these certain playbooks available. And I was just curious about that. Like I was curious to find out what yours were and if any listeners have anything they want to share, like a playbook they consider to be kind of like one of their core playbooks. I'd love to hear like what it is and why. What are yours, David?
So I very, very often am playing with brand new players. And so I stick with the core playbooks. But for players that have played more than one session with me and are trying a new character, I am okay with them using the Mage or the Templar playbook without like any convincing of me. If they want to run something else, I'll let them try and talk me into it, and then we'll see. But Mage and Templar are always on the table for people who have played with the core playbooks at least once.
So when you use Mage and Templar, do you swap out Wizard for Mage and Paladin for Templar?
I'm okay with having a Mage and a Wizard because I think they do different things.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay, cool.
But I would prefer doing a straight swap of Templar and Paladin.
Yeah, that's cool. I used to have like kind of down opinions on the Paladin, but I have to say in the last 6 months or so, especially since we've been doing Company of the Three Kings, I'm coming around on Paladin. I really am. I used to be like you. I'd swap out Paladin for Templar, but lately I'm kind of digging the Paladin. There are aspects of it that I hadn't appreciated before. I'm waiting for that to happen with the Bard.
I don't know if that's ever going to happen for the Bard.
No, I don't know. I shouldn't shit talk the Bard. I have players who do great stuff, who do great things with the Bard. I don't like the Dungeon World version of the Bard. I don't like bards that like shoot magic out of their guitar. I'm just not into that. So.
I'm not about that either. I like the Paladin. It's just a preference thing for my players. If they would rather play a Templar, I'm cool with them doing that instead of the Paladin. Yeah. But if you're going to play a Paladin, it better be a Paladin and not just a fighter who happens to carry around a cross, right, or whatever.
A fighter who can heal and is immune to like magic or whatever that you choose.
No, he better have like an agenda that he's really following because he's religious.
Well, what I love about Paladin is, okay, so they get these awesome like boons, right? And they can be really powerful, right? Like, oh, we're gonna go fight a red dragon. Well, I want the boon of immune to fire, right, or invulnerable to fire. They can be super powerful. So to get that boon, you have to also like commit yourself to behaving in a certain way, like I don't remember what it's called, but like you can't, you can't run away from danger, or you can't engage in cowardly tactics. And I kind of love as the GM, like kind of putting the Paladin in situations where, I mean, it's classic Paladin behavior. I get it, lawful tick or whatever, right? But like putting them in situations where like they clearly have to kind of go against what the group is angling for just because they're being Paladins, and for whatever reason, it doesn't annoy me as much in Dungeon World as that used to annoy me in D&D. So
yeah, I like that. I like the Templars thing where he's like a Grand Inquisitor and he can be questioning you and then even do that to his allies and then take the advanced move and be in combat just peppering these people with questions that they have to answer.
Right, yeah. The Templar's pretty badass. Every time somebody plays a Templar in the games I've done, they always play them like kind of evil though. Not evil, but like jerks. Do you ever find that? Like they play them like these real hard ass jerks.
Yeah, I think that might be because of the nature of like how he's described. Like the moves that inform what he can and can't do kind of come across like that.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. The things that I add to the core, the standard playbooks, are the Initiate and the Scion. The Initiate, there are several different versions of playbooks called Initiate. The one I'm talking about is basically a fighting monk, and I don't know who made it. It's been lost to the annals of time and the internet, but it's basically like a fighting monk character. And then I like the Scion, which is like the old Psionicist character from D&D. And the reason why I like the Initiate and the Scion is because that feels like kind of completing the old traditional D&D classes to me, because when I played D&D, we had like fighting monks and we had a Psionicist, especially in the second edition games, we had, psionics. So I kind of like those two just because they feel like missing from the core playbooks to me. So.
Okay. See, and I don't get that feeling at all. And I honestly don't care for either one.
Well, it's because you didn't grow up playing D&D, right?
Exactly,
That's why. Yeah. To me, like they feel like a completion. Like, okay, we've got the fighter, we've got the paladin, we've got the ranger. Awesome. Where's the monk? Where's the psionicist?
The Scion always just seems like they're doing the same thing, where I try and hurt it with my mind.
Yeah. I blast it with my what's it called? My telekinetic strike. I kill it with telekinetic strike. Yeah. I've had players where like they should just like. I'm stealing a joke from someone right now, but they should just like write on their name card, I kill it with telekinetic strike, and then walk off.
I've seen that.
I think there's a way to play it more interesting than that, though. So,
yeah, I'm sure that there is. I just have not seen it yet.
You have not seen it yet. That's it. I'm curious if listeners want to share like their additions to the standard playbooks, or even just their normal mix of playbooks. Maybe they don't use all the standard playbooks, right? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I would be interested to see that as well, because I haven't read every single character sheet that's out there, and maybe you've got some good ones that I would like to add in. That's it for this segment. Let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. Our next segment is what here is useful or valuable to me. So, listeners, this week we want to kick off our second contest that we're going to have here on Discern Realities. This one is not a magic item contest. This is a location-based custom move contest. To unpack that a little bit more, Jason is going to give an example.
What we're looking for this contest is like David said, a location-based custom move. And if you're not sure what that is, just look at your custom move and decide if the players have to go somewhere to do it. If they do, it's probably a location-based custom move. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of a location-based custom move. So here's what I have for our example. This is the shrine to Dugmaren Brightmantle. Dugmaren Brightmantle is a dwarven god from 1st edition D&D. So the shrine of Dugmaren Brightmantle, the description goes, inside this shrine, there are prayer plinths arranged in a semicircle before an altar, atop which is a holy machine of the Brightmantle, a tall, complex mass of gears, cogs, pulleys, and levers. A single bright brass lever is in the place of importance on the altar, just in front of the holy machine. And then the custom move. If you say a prayer to the Brightmantle and then pull the lever, roll plus charisma. On a 10+, the Brightmantle grants you a major boon. On a 7 to 9, he grants you a minor boon. On a miss, Dugmaren finds you wanting, and your equipment may fail you at an inopportune time. That's it. A really simple, straightforward move. Yours can be more interesting than that, but I just wanted to kind of give an example of like what a location-based custom move is, what we're looking for. All of these entries should have a name. What is the name of the move, or the name of the location, rather, like what is the name of the location? Okay. A description, like a very short, like, okay, this is what this location is like. This is what you find here. This is what the players will be doing. The move itself, and then if you need to, include a few notes about like how people might be able to use this location-based custom move in their own game. Okay. We should mention that this can be it can be a location like an inn or a tavern or a shrine or a temple. It can be an item that is like in a fixed location. So maybe it's like a sword and a stone that you have to go and pray to, or you can only use its powers if you go to it. Or it can be a person in a location. The key thing, though, is it just has to be like your characters just have to go to it, okay? and it should really be something that can be used in lots of different that like anybody who's listening to the show and paying attention to the contest can grab that location-based custom move and use it in their game. That's the idea. So that's all I had to say about it, David. We should mention that the prize is going to be another $25 gift card to either Amazon or Drive-Thru RPG. And we'll be collecting these over the next few weeks, just like last time for the Magic Item Contest, and we'll announce the winner on episode 23.
So would you consider your Labyrinth move, would that be a location-based?
Yeah. Listeners, if you've been listening to the last couple of episodes, that's definitely a location-based custom move. It's probably a little bit more generic and as far as like the description goes, because it's meant to be used in like, it's really more of like a system than a move almost. But yeah, I think so. I mean, I could see that. I mean, it's definitely like the characters have to be in the labyrinth, right? So
yeah. Well, yeah, listeners, get creative, see what you can come up with, and don't be afraid to do something a little bit different than what we've described, but as long as you think that it can be justified as a location-based custom move, send it our way, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, just post them in the comments to the G+ posts for this episode and all the future episodes until we get to episode 23.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. Our next segment is What is About to Happen.
All right, this is our comic strip AP featuring the adventures of Domenico Castafiel. When we last saw Domenico, he had been contacted by an apparent demon living inside the body of Iotho Bruno. And so when we last saw you, Domenico, you were sitting in a chair in the room at night with just a shaft of moonlight illuminating the room, considering the offer, so to speak, that this demon has made to you. What do you do?
So, after several minutes longer of quiet contemplation, I get a little sparkle in my eye as an idea comes to me. I start to mumble under my breath, seemingly to the invisible servant, the unseen servant, as I so often do, and I start to approach Iotho's open maw.
Right, yeah, and just to it's stretched open really wide, like twice as wide as a mouth should be open, right?
Yeah. So as I get closer, I start to call out in a louder voice, not mumbling on my breath anymore. I say, This seems to be the most likely way that I can have success for my family and freeing them from this terrible, terrible curse. Tell me, demon, what is it that I must do?
First, you must go to the dungeon beneath this manse. Find the blade that the assassin was going to use. It won't work if you don't use that blade.
All right, then. I'll see what we can do about that. In the meantime, is it possible to speak with Iotho?
There's a shifting, and you hear sort of like a loud, not loud, but kind of a rumbling, gurgling noise inside Iotho's stomach, like a... And there's a shift as Iotho's massive body shifts, and he kind of shakes his little bald head, like shakes it up. What's going on? What's going on?
You've just woken from your sleep. Are you feeling better, Iotho?
Oh, Domenico Castafiel, you're still here. I thought perhaps it was a wonderful dream that you fell asleep next to me.
Definitely am well rested and at your service.
It's still so late at night. Can't this wait until the morning?
I'm afraid that it could be a matter of great importance that cannot see us waiting all night long to get to it.
Very well, very well. What do you want to discuss?
I am needing help with something with my family. I understand you may have a way, an item that has come into your possession. Perhaps you keep it down in your dungeon with your other possessions. This is of the gravest importance to me. I cannot rest easy knowing that it is so close to my grasp, and yet I am being held away from it.
Domenico, nothing would make me happier than to help you, but I come to have possession of many things. I have many agents and many servants who go out and acquire things for me, treasures, so to speak, booty, bounty. I don't know what it is you are speaking of.
Well, Iotho, perhaps it would be easiest if you directed me down to your dungeons. You could get your rest, and I could search for it. I'm sure that I will recognize it as soon as I get near it.
Well, I do suppose I owe you my life. There's a vault beneath this villa, near my dungeons. Go there. I'll have someone go with you. See if you can find what you're looking for. And then bring it back to me and we shall discuss the matter.
Thank you so much, Iotho. I already feel my mind more at ease, knowing that you are on my side in this.
He calls in a guard who is standing outside the room and gives him instructions to take you down.
All right, great.
And at that point, like, his head kind of lolls back a little bit, and he just starts to do a little snore, like, and he's back asleep.
Well, that just leaves one final question. Who's really in control here?
So that would be the Gauntlet. We can be found on our brand new website, gauntlet-rpg.com. On that website, you'll be able to find links to all three of our podcasts, including this show, the Gauntlet Podcast, and Plus One Forward, a podcast powered by the apocalypse. We also have a G Plus community. There's a link for that, as well as our various meetups.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, listeners. That's our show.
He had been contacted by an apparent demon living inside the body of Iotho Bruno, which at least partially explains why Iotho is so superhumanly, unnaturally obese, right? Maybe. Iotho just might be, just really hungry fellow, too. I don't know. Cut that, anyway. Yeah, cut that bit.